Okay, so you buy a bike and it doesn't have any pedals on it, or you want to change them, continue watching if you want to know how. So these are your pedals. You might find them in a box. If you buy a brand new bike, you're likely to get some pedals in the box. They might look the same, but there is a very crucial difference between the two. So the big difference between these two pedals, although they look exactly the same, is that the thread direction is opposite. So if you don't know that, then you could get into a lot of trouble, and it's probably one of the most common issues that you see in the workshop. And it's not just a beginner mistake. People that have been doing it for a long time, or they've got a nice expensive bike, they still do it. So yeah, carry on watching if you want to learn how to fit pedals. I'll show you a couple of tips on how to avoid any damage to your crank arms, which is basically the bit that it threads into. So if you didn't know that the pedals come off, then yeah, they are two individual parts. So you've got your pedal and your crank arm, which some people refer to as a pedal arm. So if you're buying pedals, the two things to look out for is the thread diameter. So you've got basically 1/2 inch, which is a kid's bike size really, or 9/16 inch. So an adult's bike is going to be a 9/16 pedal. If you've bought a 1/2 inch pedal, then it will just go into that hole and you won't be able to do it out. So you've got a pedal like this with two flats, and then the other style of pedal is something like this. It's a bit more of a higher end premium pedal, but it doesn't have the flats on it, so it gets rid of all of that. And the way you're going to do it is with Allen key on the inside. So this one uses an 8mm Allen key, and you will do it up from the inside of the crank arm. So two sort of types of pedals that you'll see: a normal basic pedal with two flats that you do it with a pedal spanner, and this style that you'll do up with an Allen key. So how to define your left and your right pedal? So first of all, the first thing to look for is on the end of the thread, you have an L and an R. It sounds simple, but people still get it wrong. So right and left, and how you're going to work that out is the right side of your bike is always going to be how you look at it. So right side, left side, right side, left side. It's as simple as that. It's not if you're looking at it that side, you will get it the wrong way around. So always refer to your right hand and your left hand. So that would be the first thing. So the other thing to look out for is the left hand side pedal has these grooves in it. So if for whatever reason the L wears away, you can sometimes refer to the left. It's got grooves in it. So if you see the right hand side pedal, it is smooth on this face, and the left hand side has lines in it, or notches. So on the higher end pedals, it's got the Allen keys on the end, so it's not the same. So on a pedal like this, if you can't see anything, just have a little look around. So as you can see on here, this is a Shimano XT pedal. So when you look at the pedal body, it's got the part number on it, and it's also got an L. So just to make sure that that is an L referring to the side that it goes on, just check the other one, and you can see that this one says right. Both of these pedals will fit this bike, although it's more of an entry-level bike. The thread size and the pitch is still the same, so I could fit these pedals onto this bike, and I could fit these pedals onto a higher-end mountain bike. So what we'll do is we'll just put the basic pedals back into this bike, and I'll just show you how you can avoid damaging your cranks. So another thing to note is that the thread and the material used on these pedals, this is steel. So the thing that's going to be damaged on your bike if you cross thread them or don't put them in straight is your crank arm. So generally crank arms are made out of aluminium, which is a softer material than steel. So yeah, if you cross thread your pedals, it's either going to be a new crank arm, a whole new chain set, or you're going to need to get the crank rethreaded and a helicoil put in there. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you've got some grease on there. It just stops them from seizing up over time, so when you come to removing them in the future, you know they're all greased up and they're not going to seize. So you can just use your generic bike grease. I've got red grease here, and all you want to do is literally just put a little bit just on the threads, just dab it around. You can do one side or both sides. So the next step is, once you've greased your pedal thread, is putting the pedal in. And I will just say, don't use a pedal spanner until you're absolutely certain that the pedal is in. And you can do this pedal up pretty much all the way just by hand. So the little simple trick, just to save any damage, is if you've got a stand, kick the stand away, get the thread, get the pedal. Remember to get the right hand side pedal, into your right hand side crank arm. So hold these flats just to get a little bit of purchase on there, bring it down, and then all you're going to want to do is just gently thread it, right? And if you had the wrong pedal in your hand, it won't go in. On this right hand side crank arm, it's going to be a clockwise rotation, and on the left hand side crank, it's going to be an anti-clockwise rotation. But basically, it's always threading towards the front of the bike. So if you just remember, if you're stood over the bike, you want to be turning the thread towards the front of the bike. So just keep going in with your hand. And then another little simple trick is, if you want to go faster, is just hold the flats and pedal backwards. And it's as simple as that. Just keep going, and then it will stop. So we're going to do that on both sides. So I'll just grease this pedal thread as well. Dab, dab, dab. And then as you thread it in, it will just spread out around the threads. So same again. Put the pedal in, gently, just thread it with your hands. And now I'm happy that it's caught a good few threads, and then you can just back pedal, holding the flats. So once you're happy that your pedals are threaded in by hand, then you can then go and grab your pedal spanner. It's a little bit different to a conventional spanner. It is narrower. You can get ones that have got a little bit more leverage. So if you're doing it quite a lot, just to have a little bit more force when you're undoing the pedals, then yeah, just get a longer one. But just for doing pedals up, this is fine. So all you're going to do is just bring it back to there, put your spanner in, so when the pedal's facing back, and just push it down, and that is enough. So once you've done the right hand side, you can move over to the left side of the bike. It is a little bit weird doing it this side because you normally stood in the stand, but it's the same again. So you can just get the pedal spanner in and just do it up towards the front of the bike, and then that's your pedals nice and tight. They're not going to go anywhere. They're greased up, and you haven't stripped the thread on your pedals. And then once your pedals are done up, and you might want to take them off to change them, or put it into storage, you need a little bit more space. So just bring your crank arm to the front, get your pedal spanner, pop it in there, and just push down. It's as easy as that, and just go one full rotation. And then once you're happy that that's undone, you'll probably be able to do the rest of it just with your hand, and that will just save any damage. So we'll tighten this back up. Don't forget to tighten it back up. You can just get your pedal spanner and just slowly back pedal, and that will do the same thing. And then once you get the whole way, you can just spin it round, back to what I said before, get the spanner in, and just push down. And that's everything. So if you follow those little tips and don't use the spanner too early, just use your hand, thread them up by hand, and yeah, that might save you damaging your crank. We do see even really expensive carbon cranks and everything in the workshop where someone's come in and they've stripped the thread, and it is just as simple as defining your left and your right pedal, doing it up by hand, making sure you grease it, and just don't use the spanner right until the end, and just nip them up. Don't go too crazy. They don't need to be super tight, and that'll be it, and you'll be ready to ride. And once you've fitted your pedals, you can do some stunts.